Hi everyone, thanks for stopping by Pete's Garage. In a previous video on the Cobra, we installed our windshield wipers. In this video, we're going to install the wiper motor. Before we test this out, I got to do a little rewiring from this park switch. Let's take a look at how we have to wire this up. The park switch is hooked up with a blue, yellow, and red wire. The first thing we have to do is take that blue wire off of the connector. That is going to be our ground. We have to run a jumper wire from the one terminal of the red to the other side, and the yellow is the fast and the red is the slow speed. We will take a positive wire and hook it up to this terminal, and we should have the wiper motor working properly. Now that's exactly the way I have this wired up. The blue is off, it goes to my ground. I got the fast, slow, and the power coming from my switch. I'll turn on my power supply here, make sure I have 12 volts. And I should get slow. I turn it once, okay, that works. And fast, that works. And then when I turn it off, it should go back to the park position. Perfect, now we can get it installed. Now the first step in putting in the wiper motor is to get the tubes in for the actuation shaft. And in order to do that, I have cut off, let me turn this around, this is the cross member that was in here, and this is welded up in here. And you can see how ugly that was. It really was terrible. So I'm just going to cut this right out, and I'm going to make a new one that fits straight across here, and that's out of the way. Now if you put these in at the right distances, the tubes that go in here to carry the actuation rod just fit right in these little slots here. They just sit in here like that. And if you've put them in there right, you can see this one fits right there. There's one in between. There's a small one that goes on the end just to carry the rest of the rod. And then you have the lead rod, which goes on this end to the motor, and that motor screws on there with a giant nut. Pretty simple. And when it's all together, you can see how that cross member was in the way there, so I had to cut that out. It just wouldn't work. And these two are connected together with a tube, and the motor goes on this end. That's where we're going to put it. Now if you put this in here and this doesn't fit, it's too long or too short, you can replace this. It's just a 3/8 tube with flares on the end. So let's put the motor on this side and see how it fits. Now on this end, I'm just going to take the drive cable and feed it all the way through. Alright, with the motor just kind of hanging there in place, it's all hooked up and wired up, and it's hooked up to both of the wheel boxes there. So that's all hooked up. Now I want to make sure that it's working in the right direction, or the park position for the wipers is in the right position. I have my power supply here, make sure it's on 12 volts, and I'm going to focus on that to make, now this is the passenger side. I'm going to turn on, first of all, make sure it works. Okay, motor works, turned on high. And that works fine. Now I want to check the park position, see which way it goes when it parks. I'll just turn it off, and it parks. It's good it's parking down in that position. If it were parking up in the other way, it means that the wheelhouses are reversed, and you'd have to take those and turn them around so that the tube would be on top. That's how that reverses around. So now that it's working properly, I just have to mount the motor. So I have the motor here. Now it's got to be mounted to something. So I made this clamp. This is just a pipe that I cut and welded on a clamp here, and this should slide right on here. So now, find a good rotation here. And if I tighten this up, okay. So now I have a clamp to hold the motor, and I just have to figure out a way to weld it in place. I think I'll put a plate. I'll put a plate up on top here. Just, well, I don't want to go too far off the line. So I'll make just a small plate here and I'll tack weld it on top of both of these and see what happens. Mounted nice and solid in there. Well, it's going to move within that clamp. Just got to tighten that down a little bit. Tighten down the clamp. There we go. Nice and solid. Now let's check it out. Okay, give it a quick check. Make sure the guy at the inspection station is happy. High, low, park. Perfect. Now, I don't plan on driving this in any weather that requires windshield wipers, but wherever it goes or whomever ends up owning it will be confident knowing that it will pass inspection in their state. Thanks for stopping by Pete's Garage.